Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. Are very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. And welcome to Sunday's edition of the DC Movie and TV Daily. Yes, the Joker movie roars away with the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival. This, my friends, this, my fellow DC fans, is an unprecedented achievement. And you could just see them winning every single movie award going, including the Oscars. As I say, this is unprecedented for a comic book character movie. This has never happened before. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even think that The Dark Knight won the Venice Film Festival. The Golden Lion is the most prestigious award you can win at the Venice Film Festival, and the Venice Film Festival itself is one of the most prestigious film events. There's no question about that. Now, mainstream kind of sites and bloggers are acting surprised. How did this happen? When we knew weeks ago that the organisers of this event said the Joker movie was one of the most, was the unique film at their event. This was obvious. The 8-minute standing ovation. This is massive for Warner Brothers. This is massive for DC Films. This is massive for New Line Cinema and Walter Hamada and Peter Safran, but especially for Todd Phillips. Todd Phillips came in to Walter Hamada and said, I think we should do a black label franchise of DC movies. And Warner Brothers said, hold on, do this film, see how we get on, and then see if we can do a franchise here. A totally separate franchise to the DCEU. Todd Phillips saying, this is something that Disney just can't do, can't follow us with. And what an idea. But it's one thing to do a film about the Joker, but to have the brass cojones to make an art house movie, because this is what this film was. When I saw the 90-minute test screening months ago, I told you guys, and you were throwing it back to me saying you're a liar. You haven't seen the test screening when I had. Everything I've predicted has come to pass. The awards, the plaudits, SJWs losing their shit, because this film destroys SJW Hollywood. It does. Because now they know. They're all looking at each other. Do you know, like that moment in Rocky IV when Rocky knocks out Drago, the Russian, and kind of the government, they're watching it, right? The Prime Minister, the President, right? And they're all looking at each other. That's this moment in the film industry. For years, we've had to be stuck with this generic Disney movie type. Movies you forget as soon as you leave the theatre. They're animated movies, they're Star Wars movies, they're MCU movies. And the only narrative that's spoken about after this movie is how much money they've made. $1 billion, $1 billion, $1 billion, $1 billion. Disney's the best, Disney's the greatest. Oh, Warner Brothers have had a terrible year. Pikachu didn't make enough money. Now that's a narrative from die-hard Zack Snyder fans. And as you know, I'm a massive Zack fan. But I think there's becoming a moment now when I hear die-hard Zack Snyder fans complaining about Harley Quinn and the emancipation, Birds of Prey and the emancipation of one Harley Quinn, which is a mouthful, of course, and saying, and I've spoken about this before, putting DC movies against DC movies, it just won't do. But the narrative from some of these Snyder stands is really starting to get to me now. And as you know, I love Man of Steel and BVS. You know I do. But when I hear things like Warner Brothers have had a terrible year, Shazam, how can you put Shazam and then say that's part of a terrible year for Warner Brothers? It made 4 times its budget. Warner Brothers knew what was going to happen. They didn't have to have that film playing, weeks before Avengers Endgame, but that's what they decided. They knew the consequences of that people were saving their pennies for that film. That was a must-see film. People wanted to see the continuation of Infinity War. They knew that. They knew if they put it later on, maybe they could have made just over 500 million. But they put it on then. They introduced Shazam to the world. They gave us a very light and fun and entertaining film. And now we've got a really dark art house movie. It's called Variety, people. So I don't believe that Warner Brothers have had the terrible year that you think. But maybe if you're right, let's have a look at it, right? When Anne Sarnoff at the end of the year goes to her board of directors and say, you know what, Anne, it's not good. And she's going to say, well, blame Kevin Tsujihara. I've only been here 5 minutes. These are my plans. We're going to make money. But more important of all, Warner Brothers is becoming a motion picture studio for the content and not the priority of box office. Now, once you become a studio where the consumer knows reliably you're going to make really good, unique films that you want to go back and see again and again and again, then the money starts rolling in. Then everyone starts looking at Disney and thinking, oh, God, it's another Disney movie. It's already begun. This is massive. And as I say, this is an unprecedented success. From great failure, a.k.a. the Justice League movie, came New Line Cinema taking over DC Films. And as I've said before, I don't know a studio out there who could recover. It's not even 2 years since Justice League. They have recovered. The worrying thing, of course, the release, the Snyder Cut movement, is getting a little bit quiet out there. I know we're doing these Snyder dollars, delivering them to Anne Sarnoff, which is awesome. It's a great campaign. We have to keep it going. But I think the buzz of Joker is really, really going to help Warner Brothers in so many ways. This, as I say, unprecedented. This doesn't happen. Comic book character movies don't win the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival. Now, I was absolutely delighted last night when I heard about it. I was so excited, but I kind of knew this was coming. The buzz was there. So let's talk about the Joker movie detractors, SJWs, feminists, and MCU fans. The things the accusations that have been put to this movie's way, right? So let's look at the aspect of this film maybe inspiring would-be killers. Absolutely nonsense. Absolutely nonsense. So basically you could say that Avengers Infinity War could inspire people to want to kill half the world, right? Half the world, right, to get the population down. Has it happened? No. You can't start accusing films of things like that. It's the second one. Making excuses for a white man going around killing people. It's not making excuses. It has a commentary about mental health and how society lets people who suffer with mental health down. And I've had first experience of this. It's a great piece of commentary. This isn't the Earth One Joker. And, you know, as I say, special movie. Oh, the other one people say, if it wasn't for Joaquin Phoenix, the film wouldn't be any good. Well, most films would look a bit stupid without their leads, wouldn't they? Maybe Captain Marvel could still work because, let's face it, we're talking about Brie Larson here. I'm joking, Brie, I'm joking. No, every film needs its lead. So it's ridiculous to say if Joaquin Phoenix wasn't playing the Joker. Well, he is playing the Joker. That's the whole point. And his performance is integral to how great this film is. But the writing and directing by Todd Phillips. This is the guy who did The Hangover. Who saw this coming? Who saw him going to Warner Brothers and coming up with this black label? The comics have a black label now, right? It's kind of taken over part of DC Comics now. These are very, very exciting times for DC fans. The comics are getting better and better. And the films now, with this new journey, and as we've already said, a new DC movie universe is being created. And what does that mean? And is the Batman a part of it? So let's move on from the Joker now. I don't have much news for you today, but apparently Matt Reeves is looking for a woman of colour to play Catwoman. Now, before everyone loses their shit, we've had Eartha Kitt, who was a woman of colour. We had Halle Berry in that awful Catwoman movie, who was a woman of colour. I don't care. And as I say when casting's being done, I don't care what colour you are, what creed you are, what gender you are. Just get a person who deserves the role and who will do the role justice. But on Catwoman, let me tell you the version of Catwoman I like. I don't like the Catwoman who's the friendly thief, who's mainly Bruce Wayne and Batman's love interest. That's boring. She bores me. That's a watered down version of Catwoman. I like the Catwoman from Batman Returns. She's a thief, she's psychotic, she's interesting, and she's deep. And if there's an attraction between her and Bruce Wayne, fine. But I like Catwoman, the villain. Even in the 1960s Batman movie, right? I liked her in that film because she was pure evil. She literally seduces Bruce Wayne, right? And she totally makes him fall in love with Miss Kitka. If you haven't seen the 1960s movie, you don't know what I'm talking about. But that was Catwoman, evil, a bit sadistic, a bit psychotic as well. Although that movie was meant for kids, really, it was still quite good. And I like Catwoman to be interesting, and for her to be just this friendly thief who just steals for people and crap like that, and she's not the bad one. That's boring. So I hope that Matt Reeves is creating a really exciting Catwoman. And now, normally with casting these days, what do they say? When they put up the casting calls, they say any ethnicity. That's what they do. That's what they have to do these days, right? So I'm quite interested that I think it's Heroic Hollywood, are saying that he's actually looking for a woman of colour. Normally they bring everyone in and then they make their mind up. But maybe he's decided he wants a woman of colour to play Catwoman. And as I say, it shouldn't be a big deal. Of course, in this fandom, everything is a big deal when everyone loses their shit over anything. So I'll tell you what, though, if you're a DC fan right now, you should have a big smile on your face. Peter Capaldi in the Suicide Squad. James Gunn's Suicide Squad. Who saw that coming? That's very exciting. As well, there's a lot of things going on right now within the DC movie universe, and it really is exciting. But look, going back to Joker winning the Golden Lion at the Venice Film Festival, as I say, that is something that everyone is going to stand up and take notice. This is the film that changes everything, that takes the power to Warner Brothers and DC away from Marvel. Marvel have made entertaining, forgettable films. And Warner Brothers and Walter Hamada and New Line Cinema are doing something very, very special. And let me ask you this. If you're an actor, right now, once you see this film and you see the buzz, if you're an actor and you see the buzz for what Joaquin Phoenix has achieved here, if you're a critically acclaimed actor, a high-profile actor, what are you going to do? Go over to the MCU or get in line to be in the new DC Black Label movie? Because that's what's going to happen now. They're all going to get in line. How many actors do we keep on hearing have turned down the MCU? Even Harry Styles turned down the MCU. It's hilarious. But it's interesting with Harry. His first film was one of his first films was with Christopher Nolan. And that was a very good performance. Actually, Harry, shockingly, is a very good actor. And I actually think he'll be a pretty good Dick Grayson. Don't laugh. I was thinking about this. I was having a cigarette on my balcony and I was thinking, that's interesting. Christopher Nolan still has a lot of influence over at DC Films and with talks to Walter Hamada all the time. So we have interesting times ahead. Now let's talk about Joaquin Phoenix a little bit, because he was originally who Zack Snyder wanted to play Lex Luthor, and Joaquin didn't want to do it. Now, I got on my knees, I put my ear on the ground, and apparently Joaquin is interested in starting a conversation about playing Lex Luthor in the DCEU. Now, what's beautiful about this, of course, people, it doesn't matter that he's played the Joker, right? Ignore that phone, I should have chucked it out. So what's beautiful about this, right, is that Joaquin has played the Joker in the Black Label, a totally different universe to the DCEU. So if he was to replace Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, how would you feel about that? I would be extremely excited. I love Jesse Eisenberg, but unfortunately, enough people didn't like him as Lex. We did, like the die-hard BVS fans, we really enjoyed that. And he was great. He's one of the great actors of this generation, like Joaquin Phoenix is himself. But Joaquin Phoenix would be a very, very compelling Lex Luthor. And shall I tell you something else? Maybe if Joaquin took the part originally, maybe that version of Lex would have been a lot more popular and maybe slightly different as well. So I'm interested. Jesse Eisenberg, top respect. It didn't work out, but I love him as Lex. I wouldn't have cast him, but I really did enjoy his deliciously insane performance. But if Joaquin Phoenix could take that now, could take that job, that would be very, very interesting. Now, one of the reasons he didn't, and he didn't take Doctor Strange, although I just don't know how Doctor Strange would have suited his acting style. We know that Lex Luthor is a very intense, interesting megalomaniac character, and it will just be up Joaquin's street. So we'll see how that develops. But as I say, proud to be a DC fan. This is massive. And now they're predicting that this could be the most successful R-rated movie at the box office. What have I been saying for weeks now? And you lot are going, nah, Mick, it won't make anywhere near $1 billion. You watch what's going to happen here. This, as I say, unprecedented moment and a change in this. Look, this has never happened in film before. This is changing. In front of our generation's eyes and the younger generations, movies are changing. And Joker movies is doing that. And it doesn't matter what she'll say. It doesn't matter what SJW say. It doesn't matter what feminists say. This film is going to be big. And this is just the beginning of the Black Label and the rebranding of the DCEU. So you either get off that train or you get along for the ride. And you're in for a very exciting ride.